What was one of those biggest lessons that you learned from your father?
The best concept that I ever got from him that I've applied throughout my entire career in leadership is nobody ever works for you. They work with you. And in fact, in a leadership position, you work for your employees.
Welcome to EMG Transformations with Dan Stoll. Each episode will empower you to ignite your inner fire and provide methods to maximize your mental and physical performance. Buckle up and get ready to spark your transformation with Nova Fusion.
3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to EMG Transformations. Today I have the honor to feature the notorious Brett Knopf. Brett is a business strategist, performance coach, speaker, father, and mentor. He solves complex life and business challenges with his leadership skills to drive growth in high-performing professionals and companies. With over 2 decades of leadership and sales management experience, Brett shapes work environments to prioritize collaboration, transparency, self-accountability, and personal growth. I admire Brett's integrity and the way he holds himself and others accountable. He is a true leader, and I'm grateful to share some valuable insights with you guys today. Thanks for joining us today, Brett.
And thank you. That was a tremendous introduction. I'd be lying if I say I didn't get a little bit of a chill as you were talking. So very cool. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, man. You are just an amazing human being, and you've truly impacted my life on a deep level, not only business, but like professionally, but personally as well, and just developing my character, my integrity, and, my standards to just operate at a higher level. So wanted to thank you for that before we kick off this conversation.
Yeah, and you are just a tremendous human being in your own right. As soon as we connected initially, I knew you were going to be someone that was going to be a valued member of the tribe for a long time to come. So just love seeing your growth and evolution and willingness to spread the good cheer to anyone and everyone.
Yeah, that's what we're here to do, and I appreciate that, man. So yeah, let's start with your backstory today, and what were some of those experiences and struggles even that shaped you into who you are today?
Experience wise, I was very fortunate in the fact that I had a father that was really invested in making sure that we operate as his children with humility. We operate from this perspective of servant leadership. Do unto others as you want done unto you, and it wasn't words. Now I got to witness that through his actions in large part. So, my father worked 90 to 100 hours a week for most of his life. He retired or said he was going to retire and unretired. He's like Brett Favre when he was playing quarterback for Green Bay, and he semi-retired down to 60 hours a week at the age of like 65, 66, 67, whatever. I got to witness him from a very early age in how he treated people, both his team members, because he owned his own party rental business in Paterson, New Jersey, back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, as well as really anyone he came in contact with. So to see that outward focus on how can I make your life better? How can I bring value to you? Whether that's a smile and a kind word, whether that's in the work setting, let me get in the trenches with you. Let me never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. That was shaped really well in from an osmosis standpoint, just being around a guy like that and being in that home and work environment. So experientially, that was a big influence and impact on me early on.
Yeah.
From a challenge standpoint, I'd say the biggest challenge that I had throughout my life has been insecurity. Just that imposter syndrome, not feeling like I was the worthy of a lot of things, whether financially or emotionally or any of the above. I'm not 100% sure why that's the case. I do a lot of inner work, and I work with coaches. I work with cognitive behavioral therapists. I do a lot of those things to try to uncover it. Um, and I'm still not, like I said, 100% sure. But historically, that's held me back in the sense of playing smaller than I now know I'm capable of playing. And I say that full well knowing that I've done some really great things with really high level organizations over the course of my career. Yet it's still festered. It's still there, and I'm really proud and happy to say that at the age of 42, the majority of that is gone, and I credit our mutual friend Craig Siegel quite a bit, as well as a lot of other people directly and indirectly with helping me recognize that my intentions are always good in trying to elevate the people around me, and as a result, I'm worth whatever value is reciprocated by that approach.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I honestly wasn't expecting the vulnerability of the insecurities that, you're still even shedding off a little bit today. And, that's something that, as our listeners right now, we can all relate with, feeling insecure about something and, not being good enough, or why me, or who am I to do this? And that's something that I've really had to shed off before I started my business. Even this podcast, I shelved the idea for like 2 years probably, until I finally stepped into that. And it did come from a place of big insecurity. But something that helped me with that is knowing that, people out there who are less competent or less qualified are doing the things that you want to be doing, and they're only doing it because they're more confident than you. So it's like, okay, how can I level up my confidence and get out there and get in the arena and, start taking that action? So just like a side question, like what helped you kind of get over those feelings of insecurity?
Yeah, it's cool to hear your perspective on it, because that I could have taken the same exact words and said them myself. So spot on. For me, it's been a lot over the last 3 years in particular. I've been on this personal development journey for a long time, but I was the quintessential guy who understood it conceptually, but wasn't either applying it consistently and certainly not internalizing those things. And when the pandemic hit, and that worldview of what I was supposed to be doing professionally, how I was supposed to be doing it professionally, got shattered. Let's call it, when I was now a new father of two young children in a 16-month period. I had to reevaluate things, and I really started taking inventory and self-reflecting. What do I love to do? What am I passionate about? Where am I strong? Where are my areas of opportunity? And I started writing. I've always liked reading, always liked writing in general, but I had never made it a habitual part of my day-to-day. And when I started getting things out of my head and onto paper, it gave me the space I needed to objectively evaluate these things. Because I've always been a coach or leader, or in those positions historically in my career, great at doing it for other people, terrible at doing it for myself. So that was a big inflection point for me. And when I took that inventory, I was then able to see, okay, who do I need? What resources do I need to help me accentuate my strengths and start raising the floor in some of my bigger opportunities? So I invested, the first big investment I made was into Bob Proctor's program called Thinking into Results with one of his consultants, this woman, Millie Ristich. And she basically broke my whole model of goal setting and reality, a real paradigm shift in terms of getting away from the SMART goal model as the only way I set goals, and going into this, what she calls worthy goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals. They're really looking at, what do I want most in this world, and starting there. And once I was able to really get that down, I could apply the SMART goal model and reverse engineer, what do I need to do day to day, week to week, month to month, in order to make that happen. And as I went through that program, and one of the bigger first goals I set was, I want to buy a house for my family. I have no idea how to buy a house. I don't know, but I'm going to do this by the end of April. This was in January of 2021. Okay. It came to fruition because I had a concrete vision. I had a compelling why, and I just started figuring out how to go about doing it. And to the point you made earlier, getting in the arena, I would have been terrified of doing it. And that terror stopped me in place for a lot of different things in my life. I got that quick, big win, and it's been off and running ever since.
That's awesome. And a quote that I really love is, if it scares you, you should probably do it. So leaning into that fear, like, that's actually a place that we grow. And, that comfortable place that, feels good, there's no growth there. But when we step into the other side, that's where, life will give us things that we can't even imagine right now, because it's so freaking good. But, if we don't step into it, we're never gonna get to that place. So, that's something that you had to do, overcome those fears. And, you're reaping the results because you took that bet on yourself to, just keep on pushing and, get in the arena, as we're talking about.
Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world, because at that point you accumulate data. Other than that, it's speculation largely. So getting in the arena, starting to take action, as long as you've got that target in mind and that's clearly defined, you're gonna gather the information you need to know how to carve that path. But if you're expecting to just know all of the answers to how to get someplace right out of the gates, that goal is likely not worthy of you. It's not big enough for what you're truly capable of. And that's a real paradigm shift from what I had ever considered. And now I've seen that play itself out in a number of other scenarios subsequently. And I just, again, couldn't agree more that that's strongly how I believe people need to operate if they're going to truly maximize their potential.
Yeah, and that's why I created the EMG philosophy, or mindset, however you want to phrase it. Experiences plus mindset equals growth, because I learned from my experiences of having an alcoholic father and being diagnosed with Crohn's disease. But then I started looking at others' experiences, and I learned that I can learn from their painful events the same way I learned from mine. And that's something that we're talking about right now, is you have to go through those experiences, collect the data, learn new things, and then you can make a shift your mindset a little bit and take that new action that leads to new growth. And you talked about really highly of your father and how he kind of showed you the ropes at an early age. And I'd love to talk about that, like on that mindset shift, because you were absorbing his experiences at an early age. So what was one of those biggest lessons that you learned from your father?
Yeah, it's cool to sit and think about these things where he's concerned, because he's just a quality human being. I rarely ever saw him, if ever, get angry. I saw how people responded to him. So the biggest thing that has aided me in a professional setting is his willingness to invest in other people that are supposedly by title below him in the pecking order. So he's a business owner. He's got all these people that are working for him. And it was never like that. And he had a partner in this business who it was like that for him. So I got to observe the difference in how the team members would respond to him. And this guy, I'll call him G, the employees would basically, against their something that's not even going to benefit them, they would spitefully not do what they needed to do because they didn't want to work for this guy. On the flip side, with my dad, because he would ask about their children, he would go to their holiday dinners, he would make sure that he would bonus them based off of effort, let alone results. They would run through walls for him. And it was the best concept that I ever got from him that I've applied throughout my entire career in leadership is nobody ever works for you. They work with you. And in fact, in a leadership position, you work for your employees. And to me, it's such a great way of operating, because when people see that you are, despite your title, clearly demonstrating that you are no better, you're not above them in any way, shape, or form. If anything, it's the inverse relationship. They are going to want to work their asses off on your behalf in terms of the organizational vision, let alone you as an individual. So that stands out to me as something that I was able to observe and see servant leadership in action well before I knew what servant leadership actually was.
Yeah, and hearing all this, in other words, it sounds like leading by example. And so that's exactly what he was doing. And, just to expand on that, like, why is that so crucial for every person and organization out there to really lead their life in that type of way?
Because why not? I write down every day in my journal. I've been doing this for quite some time now. Treat everyone you come in contact with as the most important person in the world. So I circle back to that. Why not? There's no reason not to respect other people. There's no reason not to treat people with dignity and interest and just value them the way that you would want to be valued yourself. Because, Dan, I look at everyone as an unofficial mentor, let alone the official mentors I've had in my life, because I can learn something from everyone I interact with, their accumulated experiences, their wins, their challenges. And by doing so, it enables me to accelerate my own progress. And that's may sound a little selfishly driven, but realistically, it's with the intention and just conscious effort of making sure that I'm delivering value to everyone that I come in contact with. And I said this earlier, eye contact and a smile, active listening. Right out of the gates, you put yourself in rarefied air, regrettably, because most people are distracted. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. They're not making eye contact and actively listening, having that intellectual curiosity about you as a human being. So I feel that if that was everybody's way of operating, this world would be significantly more connected and in a better spot.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100% with you. And something that we have in common is Stoicism as well. And, a virtue that I live by that is justice, and to do the right thing, and the rest doesn't matter. The rest will take care of itself. And, it's almost like karma too. Like, you can give to someone, but don't expect to get something back from them. Know that the universe will give you something good in return, and maybe that's 3 months, 6 months down the line. But because you're doing those acts of service and those acts of good, that puts you at a good place. And it's something that we should all just do, because why not, like you said, but also that's the right thing to do at the end of the day. And, we are better together. I've had some conversations on here talking about how you can't do everything alone. And especially like when you're younger, like I've felt like this for a while, like I can take on the world by myself, but that's something that I've learned as of recently, that no, like you gotta build your network, build relationships, and it's really not the destination that matters. Like we all have our goals that we want to hit, but it's really the journey and who you're becoming and those people that you meet along the way that really mean the most on this whole journey of life that we're all going through.
Amazingly said, and I could not agree more. It's so rewarding to continue to meet more and more high character people, and people that their genuine intention is to uplift everyone around them. And it really doesn't even take very much. It's to the simplicity of some of the things I've said already: eye contact and a smile, listening to another human being, asking them questions about what they're doing, why they're doing it, why it's what are they looking to do. And I think that collectively, when we operate like that, money, happiness, any measure of success, that's individual how you define that, comes as a natural byproduct. And the process and the day-to-day fulfillment that comes from just having these rich and meaningful relationships with other people, I'm jacked up every single day to have these conversations, and I'm really grateful that they are abundant in my life. There's not a day that goes by where I don't have some tremendously impactful conversation with another person, both ways. And that's why I've dedicated my life and the mission to bringing that to the forefront, specifically in organizations and with leadership teams, so that we spend so much damn time at work and doing these things, that it should be an environment that you want to be there, that you're excited to be part of something bigger than yourself, and helping your teammates and helping your organization create wins all around for the internal parties, let alone the clients and customers.
Yeah, something that I'm really picking up throughout this conversation right now is that you are a sponge and a student of life still today in your 40s, and you're constantly learning. And that's something that people will stop trying to do. They think they know everything, but you know that you don't know everything, and there's always a next level to learn. And I'm curious, how do you inspire that in the organizations that you're mentoring?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty selective in who I choose to work with to begin with. So, and that's come from experience as well. I've got a very thorough vetting criteria to make sure that I'm working with people that they have that growth mindset, they have that abundance mindset. They've done similarly to myself a lot type of work already, but the implementation and the belief isn't there. They just haven't been able to unlock that next level for themselves, which has made it difficult for them to do that for the teams that they are working with and responsible for growing. So that's number one. Number two is you've touched on this already, but leading by example. That's where the congruence has come into place for me, and why I've had a lot what I consider to be greater success and happiness and fulfillment in the last several years. Is I'm telling people, here's where I was, here's what I did, and here's the trajectory that what I'm doing now is facilitating. So one of the bigger things is the journaling, the leading yourself, taking that inventory day after day after day. And part of that is to tie it together here. Every single day, one of the things I journal is my biggest lesson of the day. I walk out of every day with the intention of learning something of value, because I know I don't know it all, and I want to just give me the information, give me the edge. What do I need? I need more. Give me something that's going to help me grow so that I can help other people do the same. And that's how I'm able to tie it into both my personal and professional life. Here's what I learned. Here's how I learned it. You told me you're struggling with something similar. Go here, do this, if you want to. And that's a caveat. You can only lead the horse to water. I'm never going to force feed it or preach or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you what I've experienced and what's done for me and others. So you can take and make your own decision on how you want to apply it or not apply it.
That's so good. And I love what you said about the horse. You can only lead it to the water. And that's something that I've had to learn, is that like you have to set boundaries with people, because you can only help someone so much. And at the end of the day, they have to make that decision to help themselves, and they have to want it. And so, you can give them all the tools, but again, they have to implement those tools like you've been saying. And that kind of leads to my next question as well, as how do you build that strong culture that thrives together over time as like a community in a sense?
There's got to be a crystallized vision of what that entails. There has to be a mission statement, values. There has to be something compelling that resonates with people, that they say, oh, wow, I love that. I want to be a part of that, because you're not going to get people to maximize their potential, which means you're not going to get the organization or whatever you're building to maximize its potential, unless those things are clearly defined and people want to be a part of it without you having to force them to. I get asked a lot, hold me accountable. How do I hold people accountable?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to. Granted, there can be support in helping people, but if you have to hold someone else accountable, or they're asking you to hold them accountable, they're not ready to do what they need to do. They're certainly not going to be operating at their full capabilities. So I think that with the values and the mission statements and the vision clearly defined, it's going to be a lot easier to find the right people that are ready to accept those things. And regardless of the hardships in actualizing it, they're going to persevere because they want it on an emotional level, and they are surrounded by others that are supporting them when inevitably you have some of those dips, whether that's internal or external challenges.
Yeah, I love that, because I wrote down, like, you created the structure that pulls the right people in. Like it's like all the right people, they have the same values, the same mindset, and that's like a team that's going to collaboratively work together and get results and hold each other accountable at the end of the day. And even if something does happen, like, we're supposed to be self-accountable. Sometimes things happen, and if you have like your team that you can lean on in a sense, and we're gonna get each other's back when someone's having a bad day, that's where I see like it's all about. And it starts by creating that structure, the values, the mission, like you stated. So I think that's spot on. And another spot on statement of yours is being tough on standards, but not people. So I'd love to like explain more of that and what that looks like.
I love that you picked that one out, because it's one of the biggest modes of operating that I coach in the organizations that I work with and the people that I work with. So there's a tendency, from what I've seen, I think anyone listening can probably think about a boss or an employer that has been demeaning in a personal way to you when you're not performing to whatever they consider to be the expectation. So I strongly believe, and I've always operated this way when I've been an internal employee in a leadership or a management position, that it's my responsibility to uphold the standards of whatever it is that's going to lead to wins all around. Those standards and those expectations have to be extremely explicit, clearly defined, and documented. Otherwise, there's this ambiguity here. You're just like, oh, you're not doing what you're supposed to. Well, you didn't tell me exactly what I'm supposed to. It's like, no, I did tell you. All right, well, I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts. It's show me where it's documented, et cetera. So I think that where we need to go with that is making sure that if people aren't meeting those clearly defined standards and expectations, it's not, hey, Dan, you stink, you suck. It's what's holding you back. Where are the gaps here? Am I not explaining it well enough? What do you need from me to make sure that you are executing to your full capability here within those standards and expectations? And then it becomes, with individuals, is it a skill issue or is it a will issue? And if it's a skill issue, I find that that's on the organization not having a clearly or a well fleshed out enough training and development program for their team members. In a lot of cases, sometimes it's just that person regrettably isn't actually capable of picking up the skill. All right. If it's a will issue, those are the people that, it's not you're a bad person. It's like you just aren't the right fit for what we're trying to do. So I want to help you and I'll support you beyond what we're doing here. But this isn't the right time or place or team for you. So go find something that is more in line with where your actions are going to match your words.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, what have you found that lack of execution comes from? I was thinking like a lack of communication somewhere, but that would also kind of fall under the skill of the organization delivering that communication and also receiving it from the individual. I'm curious, like, just like maybe 1 to 3 things that you've found to be the most things preventing that lack of execution.
Yeah, I mean, communication's definitely one of them. Just verbally saying something, telling someone to do something, in a lot of cases, that's not what's going to get it done. I'm huge on documenting everything. It has to be very clear. It goes back to the values and missions and vision. That stuff has to be front and center everywhere, so everyone knows what we are actually trying to accomplish on the bigger scale, let alone in the micro pieces of the equation. So that's the other thing. It's communication, but it's also a lack of clearly defined and documented standards of operating here. So those are 2 big ones. And the third one, and this is largely in line with those, is because you're not clear about that, you're not clear about the roles and responsibilities, you're not clear about the characteristics, soft skills, as well as hard skills that are going to lead to success, you're just bringing the wrong people in, people that shouldn't have never been there in the first place, into the organization and expecting it to work out favorably. So a lot of what I do is like, you got to have a comprehensive list of what are the characteristics of your top performers from a culture standpoint? What are the list of the top characteristics, skills from a productivity standpoint? You got to set your job descriptions as such. You got to set your whatchamacallit, job description for the people that you're going to hire. You got to set your interview questions to vet those folks so you get it right or as close as you can up front, rather than just bringing the wrong people in to begin with and you being frustrated that they're not doing what you want them to do. And that is something that a lot of organizations and leadership teams struggle with.
Man, this is so valuable. And I'm listening to you right now, and it's like it's all clicking on why Nike is so successful, because I have their 10 principles on my wall over here from that Air Jordan movie. And I actually became inspired to start creating my own like Nova Fusion principles from an organizational standpoint. And like I'm taking some of the ones on Nike, like we're always on offense all the time. And like that's something that I'm employing in my organization and what I'm doing. And so it just all makes sense when you have that structure set in place and you have those standards. And they are a company that promotes excellence and meeting those standards. And if you don't meet those standards, then they're going to find someone else that does meet those standards. And so that's what it is at the end of the day, is not compromising on those standards that you set and that you agreed to. And I think part of that, and I know you would agree to this, is having a strong why. And like what's going to actually push you to meet those standards and make those sacrifices. If it's not worth that big why, then you're probably not going to do it at the end of the day.
It's spot on. And firstly, I love that you're doing this at this stage of your career, because you set the foundation so well for what you are trying to build. I think as a solopreneur at the moment, getting that out of the gates is going to be hugely beneficial for you and your growth, and the growth of the people that you bring into your orbit. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I love that that's the case. And yeah, listen, Dan, I've said these words so many times in my career, and the words are, I want you to succeed. I want you to do the things that you say you want to do on this team, in this organization. With that being said, if you're not willing to, on a long enough timeline, I'm going to find people that are going to meet those standards. What do we need to do to make sure that you are one of those people? And regrettably, I've had to fire hundreds of people over the course of my career, and no less than half of them have thanked me as I'm relieving them of their employment, because I was upfront, I was supportive, I wasn't tough on them, I wasn't critical of them. I knew what the standard was. I gave everything that I possibly could, asking directly, what do you need? What do you need? And delivering that. And in the very rare instances where that wasn't the case, quickly apologizing and correcting that. And it's noticed. People largely respect you when you are investing in them in that capacity, and you're straightforward with them in a non-judgmental way. It's just, this is what we agreed upon. You know it. We talked about it. You signed papers saying that these are the standards and expectations that you're willing to uphold, and you're not doing it. So again, let me help you find something that's more in line with where your actions are going to match your words. You're going to be happier. You're going to make more money. You're going to be in a better position. So again, just everything through that lens of how do we create wins all around, and some of that may be just parting ways in different circumstances.
Yeah, and the thing I love about it is you're so upfront and you do it with grace, and there's no like catching someone off guard. Like they know exactly what's coming if the standards aren't upheld. And
you told me this was going to happen. That was part of those conversations. You said it.
Yeah, so it's like this like mutual respect at the end of the day, like, and you're trying to help still. That's the thing. It's like you're not just letting them go and like, see you later, like have a good life. It's like you're still here with them to support, and that's something that's special about you, because I feel like a lot of people don't stay in contact after that, and they have to let people go. Like you truly care and live with that servant's heart.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I had a recent example of exactly what we're talking about. This was, what was it? Probably 11, 12 years ago at this point. And this guy Rath reached out to me. He's in Kansas City now, and he's putting together something big in the hospitality industry. And he's like, Brett, he actually called me Godfather, was his name for me. The Godfather, thank you. I didn't love it at the time, but what you said to me as we were parting ways has resonated with me, and I was able to take that and apply it to my team and what I'm building here. And we're knocking the cover off the ball. So thank you. And it's just funny that we're talking about this, because this was probably about 3-4 weeks ago at this point that I got that message from him. And it really is the case. It's like, you're not a bad person unless you are actively trying to mess with someone else's physical or mental well-being. You're good to go. And in the instances where you accidentally do it, being quick to apologize, fall on the sword, so to speak. Other than that, in my personal opinion, do what you got to do to gain your own happiness and success and financial well-being, whatever you define as success. Just don't impede on anyone else's, and ideally try to support everyone around you in doing the same. And why not? I don't see any real reason why not. I'm open to hearing other ways of why that's not in your best interest, but I've yet to be able to find that to this point.
Yeah. And man, I'm just loving this conversation, to be honest. Like, this is turning out so good. And I just love the character and integrity that we're sharing with everyone today, because these are all traits that you can apply to your life today. You can be kind to someone. You can go give them a compliment. You can go smile to them. You can treat others with respect and treat them how you want to be treated. These are all things that you can do right now. So I'm glad that it's almost a reminder. It's not that people don't do this, but sometimes we just like, oh yeah, I should do this a little bit more. And the more we do it, the more it becomes a habit and a practice. And so I just love that, like, we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, no, same here. I enjoy speaking about these things. And people, there's so many distractions. People are on autopilot. They're toggling back and forth. That's why the journaling was such a game changer for me. Get it out of my head, get it onto paper, objectively evaluate, and then put the team around me, my cognitive behavioral therapist, my coaches, my mentors. I've got, again, mutual friend, Joey Morgan, my brother. We have a weekly accountability call on life and business. So we're all responsible for ourselves, but you can also put the pieces in places around us that are going to help support and point out some of the blind spots that exist. But writing it down, man, getting out of your head and really being outwardly or inner focused allows you to then be outwardly focused, because you can operate with intention. And that's a big one for me. If you look on my LinkedIn, intentionality, collaboration, elevation. If we're operating with intention of what we're trying to achieve, how we're looking to show up in the world, we're collaborating with good people, high character people around us, growth mindset oriented people, we're all going to elevate. And we're going to elevate the people around us, family, friends, employees. I really believe in this model in life and business of everyone come along, let's all win, and win big and support each other when inevitably we take those losses that are externally or internally inflicted.
Yeah. And another trait that I wanted to highlight of yours, that something that I highly value myself, is how you embody this fusion philosophy, as I like to say. And in other words, it's how you model from the best and you create your own unique ways of operating. So I'd love for you to explain your version of that and how you employ it in your life.
Yeah, it's awesome that you said that as well. It's, to me, there's no shortcuts, but I would look at it as a cheat code. There are a lot of people doing a lot of great things in this world. They have done, they're currently doing, they will do. So it's also why I said I look at everyone as an unofficial mentor, but there's certain people that are official mentors. And it all starts once again with, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do in your life and in your business? And having a very clearly defined, documented representation of that. Okay, now that I know that, who's doing that already? Who's out there that I respect, that I trust, that I want to emulate, that's operating at the highest levels possible in those particular areas? Now I have the choice of, okay, what type of communication or what type of insights can I garner from them? And that can be free resources like social media content, or great podcasts like you've got going on here. It can be, they have a boot camp, a course, a workshop that I can gain that knowledge from. Or if you're capable of it and you will really want to invest in yourself, and it's scary at times, making a somewhat intangible investment into something. It's not a physical product. It's, hey, Craig Siegel, David Meltzer, whomever, I'm going to pay to have a direct audience with you so I can get that feedback from you. You're going to learn from the people who have, David Meltzer is a good example. I invested in working with him for a year and change. He calls it, we paid the dummy tax. Like, I already did it. I fell on my face. I got punched in the jaw. Here's what you need to do to avoid that. And that is so damn valuable in accelerating the process of going from where you are to where you want to be. So then I look at that as a cheat code. And we live in a great world these days where it's available in all different iterations. It's just, it's your responsibility to figure out what it is that you want to do, who's doing it, and how am I going to take that and apply it, get in the arena, get those data points, and make the course corrections where needed based off of facts, figures, experiences, etc.
Yeah. And that's really like my formula to success and winning at life, in a sense, is just finding the best and, modeling that and creating your own system. And, there's a caveat to that, though, because we look at the people that are executing at a high level. Some of those people figuring this out is like, they don't have that high character that we're talking about today, but they're still very successful. So you have to be careful about who you're modeling, because you can pick up the wrong traits that they use to get to that success. And it's not so much about the success that we're modeling, it's about the person and their traits that got them to that success. So that's something that, I'm now being more aware of as I've picked this lesson up in the past year or so, is like, okay, yeah, this person seems great. Like they're killing it on social media. They look awesome. But when you go and peel back the layers, you see some things that kind of disappoint you. So
yeah,
gotta
I
be
think
careful.
it's that we look at the world, and we look at people through that lens of trust and respect. So inevitably, you're going to get burned, and I've been burned plenty of times in my life by trusting people that I probably shouldn't have, because I'm looking at what I want to see, and that's the best. And even those people, they've got some great qualities and characteristics, but that integrity, that genuine desire to create wins all around, it's much more self-serving in a lot of cases than it is in that with that altruism, let's call it. But I'd still rather operate that way, and now not be not jaded. Like, they didn't do it to me, I did it to myself by not having a thorough enough vetting process or enough experience in how to go about doing that. But now I'm not going to make that mistake, ideally, and I'm also going to help other people that not make that mistake, which is great that you brought that point up, because yeah, it's that people can be predatory for their own best interests, and it's regrettable, but some of their stuff, when utilized properly, can still be effective within the context of integrity in your operating procedures.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you pointed out that like you take accountability for that. It's not their fault that they're doing some things. It's the vetting process, and that's just a lesson learned and going forward for next time. So just simple as that, keep moving forward. If you're going to take some big swings, you're going to get some strikes as well. So it's just you live and you learn at that point, but don't let that stop you from pursuing another mentor that could drastically change your life because you think they might screw you over for whatever reason. Like, don't let those fears stop you from those opportunities. That's like the message I want to hammer home with that since I brought it up.
No, it's exactly right. No need for me to elaborate.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about doing great things. You're doing great things out here, and you published your book last year, I believe, 2022. Everyday People, Extraordinary Sales Success. Congratulations on getting that out there, because I know writing a book is definitely a process to do, and I'm curious, like, what's one of your favorite sales secrets out there?
I love that, and thank you. It was exciting. It was 30 years in the making, and finally got it across the finish line, or the starting line, whatever line. One of my favorite things, and this comes from Meltzer as well, and we've touched on it thematically a lot today. Be more interested than interesting. When you are asking questions, you're actively listening, you're going to find out what people need. And if you're able to deliver that direct solution to them, you're of tremendous value, and people are going to pay for that solution that you provide. Similarly to what we were talking about right before this, the other piece of that is, if you are not actually capable of it, don't take people's money to line your own pockets. Create a network of other great individuals that can solve different problems and have solutions for people, so that you can act as what I call the concierge of the solution. I'm not the guy, by either my admission or your admission, but I got Dan over here, and Dan fits what you're talking about to a T. By being more interested than interesting, not just chirping about how great you are and all these amazing things that you've done. And no, what do you need? Here's directly how I solve that. How would you like to proceed? That to me has gone a long way towards taking the pressure off of both parties, and leaving room for people to make their own decision whether to buy rather than selling them.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about right there. Like, you just nailed it on the head. So I'm not even going to try and combat or follow that up. Yeah, this has just been so like interesting, because I haven't had these types of conversations. It's more of like the health and wellness space, but it's something that, mindset, strategy, it's something that we all need to optimize our life. So I love that we're doing this today, and it's just been incredibly valuable. So thank you for your time here, and we're going to start to wrap things up. So I got one last question for you, and it's one that I just love hearing. So what's been one of the greatest lessons or piece of advices that you received on your journey that really made like that big impact on you to get to like a next level or transform your life?
Yeah, the best thing that I've heard is the cost of inaction. It's something that changed the trajectory of my life, changed the trajectory of my family's life, in the sense that when Craig Siegel said that on one of our CLS calls, I was already contemplating taking this big swing. Yeah, I got a mortgage. I got two new kids. I don't know how to start a business. I know what I want, and I know that I have a compelling vision and a compelling why, but I was scared. And as much as I understood, feel the fear and do it anyway, I was still stuck by my internal and external factors. The cost of inaction, like I'm paying a price right now by not taking this swing. And once I heard that and I executed on it, my life, and I've had a really great life, I'll say, it's never been better. I am having so much fun in this life of service and adventure. And I'm forever grateful for receiving that particular phrase and guidance in my life.
Yeah, and it's funny how things will hit you at the right exact time when you need to hear it, so you can take that step and get that transformation. It sounds like that's exactly what happened to you. And there's always an opportunity cost to whatever we're doing. So that's one of the reasons why I stopped Netflix and video games. I used to watch video game or play video games like all the time, but I realized that I could be productive in that hour that I'm playing, and that's some time that I'm never going to get back. So I can either get some results or I can get nothing done in a sense. So it's like, okay, which is better to do here? So, it kind of like is the same theme of like the cost of inaction, the inaction of not doing the thing that you should be doing, and holding yourself accountable in that sense. So I love that we're wrapping it up with that. And so now let us know how we can support you. I'm going to put the book link in the show notes below, so it's very easy for everyone to grab. And I'd just love to know like what else that you have going on right now, or something that you're looking forward to that we can get involved with.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a tremendous conversation. So right now I am working on generating additional speaking opportunities on some of the bigger stages, keynotes, corporate workshops, corporate retreats. So anyone that's listening that you feel like I can add value to you, your teams, please reach out in any capacity, let alone that capacity. And I'd love to help wherever I'm capable of helping you.
Yeah.
Social media, LinkedIn is my preferred social media platform of choice. So find me there and let's have a conversation.
Awesome, man. Well, I hope you get some speaking opportunities out of this, and just overall some great relationships and connections. So again, thank you so much for being here today. Brett, your wisdom is just out of this world business-wise, and even just like life. Like, you are such an amazing guy. You lead by example with your kindness and willingness to do the right thing, and the world is a brighter and better place because of you. I highly value our friendship, and I'm excited to continue growing with you.
Thank you. And everything you said is right back at you, my friend.
Transform your health and life with the Nova Fusion 21-day Wellness and Resilience Challenge. We're bringing the heat with daily inspiration, education, downloadable resources, and challenges to get and stay on fire. You're not going to want to miss this epic experience with us as we stack massive momentum, develop strong bonds, and create lasting lifestyle changes together. It's time for you to get in the room, ask advice from gladiator guest speakers, realize your untapped potential, and spark your transformation. The insights, the powerful tools, the lessons, the challenges in this program will truly transform your life. I believe in these practices so much that I guarantee results or your money back, so you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So what are you waiting for? I would love to invite you to our next challenge, where we will discover the world's best wellness and resilience practices for staying mentally and physically fit for a lifetime. It's everything you need to get an unstoppable edge against the competition, and there are limited spots available. Let's spark your transformation together. I'm excited to see you and grow with you on the other side. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of EMG Transformations. You never know how one valuable insight can make such a big impact. Please leave a 5-star review if this episode had a positive impact on you. And don't be shy to screenshot and share episodes on social that you found helpful so we can spread the message and make the world a better place. You never know who may need to hear and the impact it has on them too. We're only scratching the surface. There's so much more to learn. Subscribe and stick around to manage stress, improve your health, and create lasting lifestyle changes. We'll see you next time on EMG Transformations.